Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to see all of you here after lunch. I hope you're enjoying our event, the Finance Magnates London Summit for the year 2015. I would like to invite Ms. Suzanne Chisti, founder and CEO of Fintech Circle, to hold a keynote speech. As you know, we are putting much emphasis on fintech in this event because we think it is an extremely synergetic business to the business of trading, and we would like to make all of you learn about the opportunities in this type of synergy. So, Suzanne, I will give you the microphone. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Aris, and I'm very happy to be here today, this afternoon. So welcome to all of you to this presentation on asset management, trading, and the fintech impact on those two sectors. And my name, as you heard, is Suzanne Chisti. I'm the founder and CEO of Fintech Circle. And maybe I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I started to work in fintech actually 20 years ago, which sounds quite extraordinarily because nobody knew the term fintech then. And it wasn't until I think 2-3 years ago when we learned and used the term fintech. But at that time I worked in the Silicon Valley after studying there in business school and worked for a tech company which sold its service to all the stock markets in the world. So we were a fintech company, but we of course didn't know that because we were just a normal technology player, selling into capital markets, into the stock markets. And then I went back to Austria. I'm Austrian originally, to Vienna, and worked for Accenture. And then came to London 20 years ago to implement software solutions for banks. So we implemented back office systems to front office systems, from Gloss to Bloomberg. I literally was coding myself C++, which I still remember, doing those programs, configuring systems. So really started out more on the tech side. And then I moved to Morgan Stanley and moved into banking. And then the last 15 years I spent working in the banking side, first within asset management for 7 years at Morgan Stanley as a vice president. And my focus there was really looking at expanding our asset management business in Europe and then also in Asia. And then I moved to Lloyd's, focusing on transaction banking, and also then to Deutsche Bank. And last year when I worked for Deutsche, it was really interesting because it was a time in London where people talked about fintech. It was very much, everybody wanted to be part of fintech. I had lots of colleagues of mine who said they would like to invest in fintech companies because they knew finance, they knew technology, and they wanted to be having an exposure and being invested in those startups. And at the same time, I knew lots of fintech startups who said they want to have access to smart money. And they didn't want anybody's cash, but they wanted smart money, smart investors. And that was the birth of Fintech Circle, which is Europe's first angel network focused on fintech. So that's the first box on the top right, our angel network. And our goal is to bring together the best fintech investors with the best fintech startups, and we organize educational events as well. Secondly, what we realized when we talked about this circle was that lots of established players, banks, large banks, everybody tries to identify what can we do in fintech, how can we engage with the ecosystem, with the startups. And so our focus is here to advise large established players how to take advantage of the fintech revolution and how to pick out those startups which are most relevant, how to invest in startups, how to work in the ecosystem, which is so important. The third brand you see here is Fintech Tours. And the Fintech Tours, this came about because I often was invited to speak at fintech events in other countries. And afterwards, lots of entrepreneurs from outside the UK came to me and said, so how can we tap into the UK customer base? How can we tap into the UK investors? And the same questions came up again. And so we're organizing now 2-day tours for startups to come to London and really deep dive into the fintech ecosystem and getting to know all those players they need to know. And the last one is the Fintech Book, which is coming out, published by Wiley next year in February. And I will tell you a little bit more about it in a few minutes. So who are we? Fintech Circle, our focus is to search for the best fintech startups. And the reason why that's important is because we see quite well what's coming up. Because normally startups, after doing their first round of investing, after the family and friends round, they normally then go out to search and raise the first external seed round. And that's where we come in. Our focus is raising up to £500,000. And we looked at about 150 startups, which we analyzed, which we did due diligence on. And we introduced to our investors always the top startups in each round, which are the top 6 in each round. So about 24 startups so far we presented to our investors. And our focus is both London, we're London-based, but we've got a global outlook. And what we also wanted to do is to reach out to the global community. So we have set up on LinkedIn, a LinkedIn group, and you all are very much invited to join because it's the largest fintech network globally, totally free of charge. And it's a forum where you can learn about fintech, where you can contribute as well as active discussion members and participants. And it's a really nice global forum on LinkedIn. And we also have been chosen just last month as one of the top 16 fintech brands, which we're very happy about, by a global media company, which did a research on all the Twitter feeds in the ecosystem. So now moving on to fintech overall. I think probably all of you, you hear about fintech every single day, but often it helps to get a helicopter view of what it really means and what are the subsectors within fintech. And I wanted to recommend you one study which has been done by the World Economic Forum, a very independent study. And I think it's the best study which there is outside, which is really available online. You can Google it free of charge. It's called The Future of Financial Services. And this study segments fintech, the global fintech sector, in 6 sub-sectors, one of which is investment management, asset management. And what it does is, well, it analyzes the various business models and looks at the disruptive elements in each sector, which helps if you want to get a top-down helicopter overview what goes on in the industry. And for our presentation today, we want to deep dive into the asset management sector, into the investment management field. And here we've got 2 large disruptive trends, which we can see. One is about the empowering of investors via social trading, via robo-advisory, and also algorithmic trading. And the second focus is about process externalization. So those are these disruptive elements which really impact asset management today. And the first one, process externalization, focuses on advanced analytics. We heard today about examples about machine learning, advanced data, big data analytics. It's about capability sharing, cloud-based computing, and also open source ID. So often concepts which are new to large institutions and new to players who have maybe so far gone a more proprietary focus, now realize they want to open up and almost want to add to their existing customer base. Because if you think about a private bank whose customers might be, ultra high net worth individuals who so far have not yet adopted technology as a distribution channel, but equally the new generation which will inherit their wealth, they want to have different ways of engagement. And so what we see often is that the private banks, they have to do this, double kind of a strategy, which is on one side servicing your existing customer base, but at the same time looking at what the future brings and how can they embrace, fintech innovation. So I wanted to share with you now a couple of examples, 4 case studies of 4 fintech companies which we looked at more detail. The first 2 give you a case study on the asset management, fintech solutions. The second one on 2 case studies on trading. This one, Algodynamics, is a company which came to us probably in December last year, they applied to our angel network for funding. And at that stage, it was a group of a team, a Cambridge-based team, and the founder and the senior management team all were graduates from Cambridge, super intelligent team, and all big data analytics experts. And basically what they had developed was something which I initially thought was too good to be true, because it was about the ability to, based on real-time analytic feeds, to analyze when a down event happens in the market. And if you know, of course, when those anomalies in the financial markets take place, and if you can predict those a few hours, a few days ahead of time, you've got then the option to hedge your positions to protect your portfolio. And I thought back to my days at Morgan Stanley, when we worked in asset management, and all our portfolio managers, their goal was to generate alpha and outperformance versus the index. And if you didn't generate alpha over a certain period of time, probably your customers replaced you with passive funds or with ETFs. So your career was at risk if you couldn't generate sufficient alpha. And then we met this company which was able to predict down days, and therefore being able to increase your outperformance to lower volatility and increase risk-adjusted returns. So we really liked them, and they were later on chosen by the UK British Angel Association as one of the most disruptive tech investments. So we invested as well in algodynamics in our angel network. And their focus is on small, up to 2 billion AUM in size fund managers who want to buy those solutions to be able to predict, as part of their portfolio risk management solutions, to predict those down days. But equally, their other goal, their second tier strategy, is to focus on the top banks and tier 1, tier 2 investment banks, and help them for credit line monitoring and mitigation of systematic risk. So a very interesting case study there, spin-off from Cambridge, and a fintech company now which is based in Cambridge and in London. And I just show you their they use APIs. You can integrate the APIs to any existing software platform. And they've got different reporting mechanisms. And they are looking as well for partners, for partners who already service asset management customers to work together with. So this was algodynamics. The second company, second case study on asset management and how it gets disrupted is a back office example, which again shows often those parts of the business we don't focus on are those ones which have got most disruptive potential. And it's about the portfolio attribution side, the reporting side, so post as a fund manager when you do your fund fact sheets, sending them out to customers. Lots of smaller asset managers, they're doing it on Excel spreadsheets still. So it's a very manual process. And those smaller asset managers often don't have the opportunity, they don't have enough scale to justify big investment in IT. And what Obsidian Solutions is basically a cloud-based solution for those fund managers to cut their costs, offer those very streamlined reporting functionalities which are mandatory, in terms of how to communicate to customers, and show very interactive reports, dashboards, key analytics, and really provide added value. And they, for example, they are a Canadian team. They have been chosen as well by Startup Bootcamp Fintech, by the Accelerate in the UK. They're part of their program now. And they also applied to our Fintech Circle Angel Network for funding. And we have chosen them to present to our angels in December. So that's Obsidian Solutions. And I just show you how their dashboards look like. So they really have got very nice user interface and a very nice team. And that's, I think, one of the key things when we look at startups. We always look at what's the team, what competitive advantage do they have, what is their previous experience. And because fintech is such a complicated area, as we all know, domain expertise is so important. You need to have your domain expertise to even find the niche in the first place and to be able to develop something which really is of value to customers globally, ideally, because you want to scale up your business globally. So now, after those two case studies on the asset management side, I want to move on now to trading. And in terms of trading, I thought, which is really interesting, because I thought, what example should I give you? But when I think about the trading industry and about trading capital markets, in reality, all of our trading companies nowadays are fintech companies. Because when you think about all the exhibitors, outside, all these great companies which present themselves, outside, they are pure fintech companies. Many of them don't realize that, because, you don't associate sometimes the word fintech with yourself, like what I had not done before. But in reality, they combine the best technologies and they're selling them to the financial sector. So I think it's really good to see that in some areas, such as capital markets, fintech is the only way forward. There's nothing else out there besides of fintech, and trading definitely is this sector where this applies. And so what I thought I will do, I just focus on two sub-sectors within trading. One is about illiquid trading, where there's an interesting company which I want to show you, and the other one is about social trading. So let's talk about Algomi. Algomi is an established fintech company, and their focus is on helping bond traders to place large illiquid corporate bond transactions. Normally, those trades would move the market. They would unfortunately make sure that you have to pay more. But in this case, with their honeycomb network, it allows those investment firms to place those illiquid trades smoothly across the best dealers, and therefore avoiding any unnecessary costs in your execution, in your trading strategy. And Algomi, as I said, a very established firm already. They've just won the most innovative trading product company just last month. And 140 buy-side companies already are committed, are users of Algomi, and 14 banks in different countries. So a very successful later stage fintech story. And I think that's again what we see. We see in terms of ecosystem, we see startups which just have been launched 6 months ago and coming up with the first beta testing solutions. Then we see more established fintech companies. And then, of course, the goal of all fintech firms to become a unicorn. And the term unicorn we use for companies with a valuation of 1 billion plus. And we see more and more companies moving towards this unicorn status. So there's a whole bandwidth of firms which we're looking at. The next company I want to talk about is about social trading, and that's eToro. Many of you probably know, maybe some of you are users or customers or trade already on eToro. I think it's a perfect platform, for social trading. And in fact, it's the largest global leader in social trading, where individual traders can trade, but they also, instead of just having it done behind the scenes, they can share their portfolio, they can share their trades with the community, with the social community, and other people can follow them. And other investors, you can choose whom you want to follow, and therefore you've got the choice to follow the best traders who have got the best track record, and to automate your trades based on what they have done. So a very smart model, very successful globally. And one thing as well, what I would like to point out is that Yanni Asia, the co-founder of eToro, he is also an author of the Fintech Book. And I remember when I mentioned initially about the Fintech Book, this is something which we have done, and which actually when I left banking last summer, I went to Google and to Amazon because I thought I'd buy a book on fintech. Because I thought, okay, I know, some of the sectors I've been working in, but I don't know the rest. And fintech, 20 billion pounds in annual revenues. So let me buy a book which would give me this big global overview and allow me to fill in the gaps, which I felt I needed to fill in. And then I realized that there was not a single book out there. And I thought, how can this be? It's such a huge sector. So many people work in the sector. So many people want to join, want to come in. And there's not a single book which talks about fintech globally. And so my business partner, who is based in Hong Kong, and he's running Fintech Hong Kong there, and I then said, okay, let's create a Fintech book. But we said immediately, but we both, we don't know everything, and we couldn't write about all the subsectors and about B2B, B2C, about the various technological applications. So we needed to get experts involved. And so we said, let's use the crowdsourcing model, which of course is a very, very important fintech method, and apply this crowdsourcing model to the book and approach the best fintech thought leaders globally and ask them if they want to contribute to the book. And we did that. And we didn't know initially if we would have 5 people who want to participate or 10. But then after 2 months, we had 160 authors who submitted 180 abstracts out from 27 countries globally. And we were very, pleased with this huge response. And then we said, okay, now our crowd, our 7,000 members on LinkedIn, and we wanted to reach out to them and say, so what would you like to see written in the book? Which of these 160 abstracts do you want to see fully written? And then the crowd voted for the best content. And then these authors who have been chosen now submitted the full articles, which will be published, as I said, next year. And one thing which was very important for us, we wanted to give it a holistic feel. So in this book, you have got stories about established banks and how they innovate, what innovation strategies they have. You've got stories about startups who talk about their latest cutting-edge technologies. And then we wanted to get stories from successful entrepreneurs to show us how they achieved this success. And that's why we went to Yoni Asir, as founder of eToro, and asked him, can you share your personal story of how you built up eToro and what influenced you as a child? What were the drivers which made you a successful business person? And he wrote an amazing article, which we're very happy to share when the book comes out. But I think it will be an inspiration for many other fintech startups which come now and who want, to follow into the successful footsteps of many successful fintech players. This slide is too small to probably understand in detail, but what it does, and I'm very happy to provide the slides to you later, it gives you an overview of the investor landscape and fintech companies which operate within this investor landscape, either on equity crowdfunding platforms, on peer-to-peer lending platforms, on the secondary market, data providers. So it's a wonderful one-page summary of what happens in investment management in terms of fintech. And the source of this page is Deal Index. So you can also go and check them out online. So that's a fintech book which I mentioned. So that's just to summarize. So globally crowdsourced. It really helps to understand the big picture on fintech and includes the top authors. And you are all invited to the fintech launch book parties. And I will speak to, actually I spoke to Ron as well, yesterday. And we thought, because ideally we want to do fintech book launch parties in all those countries where authors come from. So we will definitely do, one in London, we do one in Hong Kong. And it would be great to do it in many countries as well. And invite wherever you are, you would be invited to also join and to meet those cutting-edge thought leaders as well in person who are part of this fintech strategy. And I think one of the things which fintech is so great about it, it's so collaborative and it's so kind of has this ecosystem where people really help each other. I think that's what I realized, when I left almost the old style banking and moved into fintech. It's very much about collaboration, really helping and working with each other. And so in summary, I wanted to share with you what Mahatma Gandhi said. And I think this is probably focused on those fintech startups which have incredible great products, solutions, but who struggle maybe to sell their solutions into large banks because the procurement cycle is too slow or because it just takes them too long just to get hold of the right buyer in large institutions. And what Mahatma Gandhi said, he said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you and then you win. So I definitely think fintech, will be the future of financial services. And I think that established fintech players, such as all those exhibitors, all of those, many of you here in the room probably, you also have got the opportunity to work with fintech startups to bundle those startups onto your platforms and then sell them together, to end customers. That's, I think, a really great model as well, a sales model. And with that, just to summarize, basically, I think asset management trading is being disrupted by fintech in a very positive way. So I think what we do, what we can see is we see companies developing solutions which really help asset managers to be more productive, to have lower their cost base, we achieve their customers in a more easier, automated way, which will be better, I think, for the whole industry and for the whole financial services marketplace. And with that, thank you very much, and I'm very happy to take any questions. I know there's a microphone as well, I believe, going around. So if you've got, yes, the lady at the back, so any questions, we give you the microphone.
Yes, we have one minute, though, because we have to be over. But yes. Suzanne is here, and you will be able to take questions even now from the audience.
Exactly. I'm definitely, I can answer any questions now, but I'm also here the whole day. We are upstairs in the fintech stage, so you're very happy to talk to you the whole afternoon.
Yes, and we will also be handing out awards for the best fintech companies later today at 6 o'clock. So make sure to stop by, and I urge all of you to even remain in your seats, because in just about 15 minutes, Facebook will hold a keynote speech right here, so about mobile strategy. So feel free to stick around. Thank you very much, Suzanne. I hope you enjoyed.